Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Royal Blue Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jones. Today, joining me, two lads who I'm sure are extremely pleased after two wins on the road in a row. We'll get into that shortly, but very quickly, just before we start today, we've got a competition winner confirmed. I believe the last few weeks, we've been asking for your comments on YouTube. And one of you is going to win a shirt. One of you has won an Everton shirt. The YouTube winner is at Emma EFC. And we'll be reaching out to you soon, Emma. You've won an Everton shirt. So congratulations on that. Gav Buckland is here. Gav, if you could go back and win any Everton shirt from history, which one would you pick?
I've only had one, and that was in 1971.
You only have had one Everton shirt in your life?
Yeah. When I went to Rotterdam, I had to borrow my mate's shirt. I think it would have to be the 85 one, wasn't it? I would think that would be the one for me personally. But we've had some. I'm not a great kit fan, but we've had some decent kits and tops. And I'd going off on a complete tangent. That was a good thing about Wednesday, wasn't it? All blue, always look great in all blue.
Absolutely. Same question to you, Chris, as well. Have you got a shirt you'd look from history to win?
I'm a bit more enthusiastic than Gav, I just wonder, like I say, is it one shirt? Is it he's still like wearing it now, like 50 years out?
I don't think I can get in it. I had a pair of Alan Ball white boots as well, Chris. No, sadly, bit the dust sometime in 1972, I believe.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that's to see a question, Matt. Yeah, when you get to a certain vintage, not quite there with Gav yet, but tend to go and get the retro ones, the ones that I've had, that are too small for me to fit into these days. Although those 90s baggy fashions mean that one from when I was a teenager is probably still okay on me. But you can't really go wrong, can you, with obviously the 85 one? Although the one that came after that, the old Lineker bib's pretty controversial, so maybe not that one.
There we go. Well, at least many of Gav's family are listening. It's for Christmas or his birthday coming up anyway. One Everton shirt in your whole life. Can't believe it.
What about yourself, Matt? Is there any particular one for you?
Do you know which one I like? I think it was the 2009-10, and it was just all blue. It was just all block blue, and it had I think the season Jermaine Beckford was here. I remember him playing.
I agree. That's probably my favourite of modern times. Just simplicity, wasn't it?
And in terms of away ones, I like which is probably quite fitting, actually. It's one of the most recent times we won at Villa, the yellow one where Lukaku scored.
Yeah,
at Villa. That was a bit different as well. But listen, lads, we've won 2 games. I'm sat here talking about going down memory lane. We wait all season for this, and we don't even talk about it. But Chris, I will come to you first, mate, because you were there in midweek.
I had the privilege, yes.
And it's interesting one, really, because I think a lot of people sort of had forgotten about this game, because I think when the draw was made, it was a roll your eyes. We'd just been beaten 4-0 by them, that the team wasn't in good shape. And even James Tarkowski was asked after Brentford, wasn't he? You've got Luton coming up next, and he was very much like, well, no, we've got Villa in the cup. And I mean, the players certainly didn't look like they were taking it as an afterthought, because for the second away game in a row, they put in a really accomplished performance and came away fully deserved winners. And I think similar to the Brentford game, for me, it's a case where probably aside from a 10, 15, 20-minute spell in the match, Everton were very much the dominant force.
Yeah, you're right there, Master. I remember on the last round, it was my birthday, actually. Everton nearly spoilt my birthday at Doncaster, but obviously after they turned that round, so they just squeezed through to the third round, and then any sort of good feeling or relief from that was quickly tempered by an away draw at Villa, as like you said, who just days earlier, I think about 10 days earlier, had battered Everton 4-0 at Villa Park. But the simple thing was, on Wednesday, from before kickoff, Everton wanted this more than Villa, both on and off the pitch. Great travelling support from the Evertonians, both ends, both tiers, behind the goal. And the players were on it from the start. Villa got booed off at half time, but that's not because they were rotten. Everton made them look rotten. Everton were pressing them high up the pitch, and they were on it from the first minute, really. And yeah, richly deserved. I mean, in the end, the 2-1 scoreline didn't sort of do justice to just how dominant Everton were on Wednesday night, and it would have been an absolute travesty if Villa had equalised. It was a bit of a rally, obviously, after they pulled one back with a deflected goal. But yeah, Everton should have been really more than 1-0 up at half time, and that's always your concern when it is only one. But yeah, it was another really highly accomplished away display, and as Gav might be able to point out in a moment, and a long-awaited second away win against Premier League opposition on the trot. It's been quite a while.
There we go. I mean, Chris has set you up there, Gav. I'm sure you've got reams and reams of stats in front of you there. I was going to question you about. So go on, give us all the numbers.
I'm going to finish out like I normally finish on Saturday morning. Chris, when was that? Was that 2017? Was it or something? I can't remember.
You can't remember what you put now. 2014 under Roberto Martinez.
That was last in the same week.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was it 2017 last time we won 2. Yeah. It was. I think you've got to look at both games in together, haven't you? Really, because I know people were saying, "Oh, Villa had a weakened team out." We had a couple of players who were benched, and that argument would only hold true if, say, we got beat 3-0 at Brentford. But the fact that we performed well at Brentford as well shows you that it wasn't necessarily down to Villa, fielding a slightly weakened team. It's down to the fact that we took the good principles from Brentford and took them into to Wednesday. But as you say, the overall like source of theory is true. Is we've really in the last 5 or 6 years put together 2 good away performances on the spin. They tend to be pretty sporadic, and I was really pleased with both performances really. And I mean, particularly Brentford, where we hardly give them a sniff until apart from the 15 minutes before half time and the first half on Wednesday, particularly. It was always going to change, wasn't it? Once you went 2-0 up after the break, the game was always going to change, wasn't it? We were always going to change a little bit, and I think we sat back a little bit more. But yeah, I was really made up in both performances, really, and it gives us something to take into tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we'll come on to talk about that because suddenly there are some good headaches, aren't there, for the manager, which I think are going to be really interesting. But sort of zoning in on particular areas of the pitch, Chris, that I think worked excellently on Wednesday, and I think it's hard not to start with the midfield duo. Obviously, James Garner and Amadou Onana were the midfield too, and I appreciate it was a different system that they started on Wednesday night. But when I saw that, I immediately thought back to the Doncaster game where they both played in the same positions, and they both looked a little lost without Idrissa in there next to them. But it couldn't have been any different, I think, on Wednesday. They were both combative, they were both assured. They combined really well for the opening goal as well. And I know particularly Onana has been the subject of some criticism at the start of the campaign. Some people questioning him. Garner's always been a good player who always feels like he can take that next step. But it was just lovely to see 2 young, talented players combining so well in that area of the pitch for Everton. And it does give you some hope for the future going forward, that can be a real positive part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think young being the operative word there, Matt, because like you said, we've been concerned for a long time. It's been a question put to Dyche. I mean, when we're talking about the potential of playing 2 up front, I mean, the flip side is that is if you've only got 2 in central midfield, and that's been the concern, isn't it? If we get overrun in the centre of the park there, if there's only 2 bodies in there. But I guess if you are going to go with 2 in the middle, and despite, they said, those teething problems at Doncaster, it would be an Onana and Garner because they're the 2 most youthful ones, most energetic, most in the tank there, getting up and down. And yeah, it was very interesting without Idrissa there. I thought Amadou Onana on this occasion showed a lot more maturity in his play, and obviously, like you say, he set up Garner for the opening goal, and you got to credit Arnott Danjuma as well for his improvised header and all of that. I mean, that was an impressive little bit of play there. But yeah, the pair of them. I mean, Garner was almost playing like a central midfielder out wide, going back to Saturday at Brentford, and that was a huge call from Dyche. Could have backfired it. Initially it looked like it was quite a negative step to drop Danjuma and put him in, but it was vindicated with the role he played in the opening goal there, and then obviously using that central midfield tenacity to win it back and set Calvert-Lewin up for his goal there. So yeah, he sort of took on what he'd done at Brentford on Saturday, took that into Wednesday night's game, and he's already said to myself after the last trip to Villa Park. It was an opportunity there. I asked him what his favourite position was there, and because he'd been playing out wide, and it was the perfect opportunity for someone to go, I'll play wherever the gaffer wants me. But he said, I do prefer to play in the middle. So he'd be delighted to be in there and get his first goal for the club. And I mean, what a lovely two-footed finish it was, controlling it on his right and then firing it in with his left. And yeah, he picked up a booking actually later on, but he was tenacious all night. And yeah, it was very encouraging to see.
Yeah, it feels to me, Gav, as though we've seen a bit of a different side to James Garner, certainly in the last couple of games, and in terms of that aggression off the ball and being able to go and win it. Obviously, he does that for the third goal at Brentford, which clinches it on Saturday. But I think on Wednesday in particular, it felt like he had a lot more freedom to just go hunting for the ball, and he was in there so often to get the ball back off Villa's players. He was putting himself into tackles, and he just looks to me maybe like a player that is starting to get a lot more confident in his own physicality and his own durability again after so long out. And we when we talk about James Garner, it's always about his ability on the ball and composure and how he can pick a pass, but he seems to be adding that physical side to his game as well.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play players in the right positions, though, doesn't it? Really, if you stuck out on the white ring, the right wing, if you stuck out on the right wing, you're not going to show the best of yourself, are you? Really, and playing with centre mid, it enables him to flourish. I think the difference with the Doncaster game was, I think Doncaster we played like 4-4-2 or something like that. I don't think we played three at the back, did we? When you play three at the back, if you two central midfielders, they're always different than if you just play two central defenders. You can hunt the ball a bit more because you've got security of an extra defender right behind you. And I think the secret of their performance on Wednesday was the fact that you had that extra security in the middle behind them, which meant you could push forward a little bit more than normal, and you could hunt for the ball a little bit more freely. And I think that was the difference to the Doncaster game. And for those two players with their strengths, is that's ideal because you don't have to play a number 6, which is what we're short of. And I think that the tactical setup helped, and I think just by playing him in the right position, I really like Garner. I said on, there's never a bad time to quote Arrigo Sacchi, and I was saying on Wednesday that the great man once said about the importance of players know how to play football, as he called it. And I think from what I saw on Wednesday, I think Garner knows how to play football in terms of his use of the ball, his positioning within the team, and giving himself to the team and stuff like that. I think he's got a great understanding of that, which is not many Everton players over the last 5 to 10 years have, to be honest with you. I count them on the fingers of one hand. I think Gareth Barry would be there for a start. And, that's what I was really impressed in the first half by him, with that, about the way he used the ball, as I say, where he positioned himself on the pitch. And I think if he, for me, you can't drop him, can you? You've always got to play him in centre mid, because he offers you something that I don't think that neither an Garner guy or Decore offer yet. And therefore he has to play for me. I've heard discussions this week about, drop him and do the 3 work and stuff. Now he's got to play, because for me, he knows how to play football, and he scored goals. I mean, if you think set up me, how many times? I mean, we saw it on Wednesday. How many times have you seen a Everton midfielder put through a pass like he did for Calvert-Lewin on Saturday over the last couple of years? Not many, after having won the ball. And so that ability with the ball is vital for somebody in the midfield, because none of the other 3 have got it. So yeah, excellent top marks for him on Wednesday, and I think hopefully be a fixture for us for the long term.
Yeah, seems to have really stepped it up, certainly over the last few weeks. Another player stepping it up, Bees, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, stepping it up in very much every sense, isn't he? His fitness, his output. And he was feeling the love again, wasn't he, from the fans on Wednesday night after some unsavoury scenes obviously from the away end back at the start of the campaign when he went off with that cheek injury. But 2 goals in 2 games for him now. And listen, I'm touching every bit of wood I can see around me here.
On that door behind you.
yeah. But this feels like the most substantial comeback in inverted commas we've seen from Calvert-Lewin since these injury issues became a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was poetic, really, wasn't it? It was Villa Park for him to sort of get, his first start since that injury with Martinez. But that was the thing. That was the great frustration, wasn't it? It's not like he pulled his hamstring or anything like that. I mean, we talked about it at the time, and I think you said, Gav, maybe it's all about your sort of decision making when to go in for those challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
Desperately unfortunate, though, to get a facial injury, something like that, to keep you out. I said it's not like a broken leg or another tweaked hammy or anything like that, or the various other ailments he's had. So it was a bit of a different injury, but nevertheless kept him out, and nevertheless produced that frustration by some of the elements of the Everton's fan base. And of course, nobody's going to be more frustrated than Dom himself. Possibly Dom's dad, who was obviously, he spoke about that afterwards, like, any proud father would do. But yeah, it was lovely to see then, Dominic Calvert-Lewin feeling the love of the Evertonians, like you say, after getting off the mark at Brentford at the weekend, and the lovely scenes there with the baby celebration, because obviously he's become a father himself since the last time he found a net, either in open play or any sort of way after scoring with a penalty at Leicester last season. But yeah, two in 2 games, and fit and firing again. I mean, to be fair, he probably should have scored before half time. They had that big double chance when he got put through. Was it Jack Harrison played him through, and then saved by Olsen, and it came at him quickly, and it was a tight angle. But maybe if he was a bit more sort of in the rhythm, he might have put that rebound in. But yeah, he sort of got over that, and when that chance came his way, because he still had a lot to do. Problem with that chance he had second half, I think, he had a lot of thinking time there, didn't he? And that's sometimes a problem. Sometimes a problem for me when we play at the pits. If it's instinctive, I'm all right. We've got too much time to think. I'm not missing it, but that's why I'm not leading the line for Everton. But yeah, he took that, both of those really coolly. Obviously, the one at Brentford came off the keeper, but yeah. 2 real sort of gave Olsen the eyes. Obviously, I think going back to maybe when they were at Finch Farm together, they played a lot of time in training, and sort of looked one way and put it the other way. And yeah, it was great to see. And that's all we want, isn't it? That he can fit and fire, and it's also really good for Dyche, the fact that he's got those options there. And now, it's not all on Dom all of a sudden. It's not, if Calvert-Lewin's not fit, what did he do? You can interchange with him and Beto, and it's a great option for the manager to have.
Yeah, is that one of the main encouraging things of his 2 goals, Gav? Because I think when you think of Calvert-Lewin's time at Everton, you think what a classic Calvert-Lewin goal is. It is that Chris Beesley instinctive, sliding it at the back post, isn't it, or getting up to win a header, and very much one touch. He seems like he scores a lot of his goals for Everton in a horizontal position, Calvert-Lewin, because he slides them in. I think one of the reasons where when he goes through on goal like that, I think instinctively in your head you have this: he's going to score, he's going to miss. And with Dom, you're never quite convinced he's going to slot it, because he's always tended to be a little bit hit and miss with his one-on-ones. But the 2 of them at the weekend, like Chris says, I think obviously he tries to put it through the keeper's legs and it gets a little flick, but just so composed for that one on Wednesday, and it's not really something we've seen that much from in his Everton career.
No, that's reflected in his goal record for us, isn't it? And the fact that he's had to rely on the hard work of others to have attempts on goal, and some of it's also the fact that he's not. I'm not sure about his own career path, but I don't think he was brought up as a striker, was he?
No, he was playing further back when he was younger, I think.
Yeah, so he's not. He hasn't got the natural instincts of somebody who's been a striker all their life, and that shows, doesn't it? It's one of the things we criticise them for, amongst other things. But I thought one of the things I have criticised them for, which was good to see on Wednesday, is what you're saying there, Matt, is the ability to create chances off your own bat, which is what he did on Wednesday. He got to the ball, he knocked it round, and then ran through on goal. And that is something that he needs to do more regularly for me to be. I see him described as a top striker. I don't think he's a top striker. Top strikers create chances on their own. They don't need the hard work of others all the time, which he's had to in the past. But that was really encouraging to see, and it was. I thought he's in the game and a half he's been on. Whatever I thought, no, whatever. I know he got substitutes on Wednesday. Thought he's looked pretty sharp, but he needs to maintain that and needs to maintain his fitness, because I still think there's work he needs to do. I don't think his first touch in the box is that great, but he's certainly shown a lot. And even the games he played last year shown improvements in that all-round game, and perhaps wasn't there 2 years ago. And that's encouraging to see. And I think the competition for places is also important. If you know somebody can take your place, even on this podcast, you'll be good. It's just human nature. No, seriously, it's just human nature, isn't it?
You've seen a view off there, Gav. You're still here.
Yeah, I'll be. If I'm not on Monday, I've talked myself out of it.
Gav's Seamus Coleman of the pod, isn't he?
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It is. I think that's a good thing within the team at the moment, isn't it? As you've seen by our substitutes on Wednesday night, is in 4 or 5 areas now, key areas. We've now got options, which we've not necessarily had. And that gives the manager more choices, but it also means that those players who are playing, who are in the starting 11, have to, maintain their form, don't they? Or they might be benched. And I think for the centre forward position, if you've only got one striker, it's important to have a backup striker, isn't it? Which has not necessarily been the case over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I love that goal on Wednesday. It reminded me of one Richarlison scored against Brighton in his first season, where I think he just nipped in and took it past Shane Duffy. And in those situations, defenders always do this big reaction where they throw their head back and they fling their arms up in the air before they turn around and chase back in vain. It was a lovely moment. And just one other player I wanted to mention before we move on to preview Luton, Chris. It was Jack Harrison's first Everton appearance, and based on what he said afterwards, and based on what the manager said afterwards, it sounded very much like Jack Harrison convinced Sean Dyche to get him in the side on Wednesday, because he was very clear-minded, to quote the manager, about his fitness and being ready to play. And based on the way he played and how sharp he looked, you'd have to say Jack Harrison was probably right about that. Yeah,
imagine that. Imagine going up to Sean Dyche and demanding to play. I mean, wasn't there something about a young Anthony Gordon knocking on Carlo Ancelotti's door once upon a time? But
he wasn't seen for weeks then, was he, after that?
But Jack Harrison. Yeah, he said to me there was a bit of talk. He might have been like myself at Burton Albion the previous evening. There's actually less than 500 of us there watching that one, so that wouldn't have been much more of a low key sort of following on from his turnout for the under-21s the previous Friday. But and he went. I mean, it was also interesting. I don't know, go on to this. I mean, I asked him, because obviously he played against Aston Villa, what actually went on there in the summer before he signed for Everton, because obviously it was understood that Villa did come in and try and hijack that year 11th hour, and he's still rather non-committal about that. Says, he needs to sit down. He doesn't want to speak out of turn. It's very complicated. So he didn't quite knock that one down, but he's happy to be at Everton now, and he must have been wondering what he'd let himself in for, because I think a week after he signed was that game at Villa, and obviously the 4-0, but sort of vindication now, coming in for his debut and playing a part in the victory there. Yeah, it was interesting because of the wing backs, because Everton did have 5 at the back. It's a bit of a slightly different role for him and Dan Juma. They were tucked in a bit more, and he by his own admission, he's still very much shaking off the rust. And it wasn't one of those where he's like whipping in crosses, anything like that, but more a few, like I said, clever balls, a few nice passes like that, especially like I mentioned that one to Calvert-Lewin that he threaded through. But it was an encouraging debut, and like everyone, he played a big part in what was a huge away performance.
Yeah, it feels to me, Gav, as though he's going to be comfortably our best option on that right hand side, because we've tried James Garner there, who did okay at Brentford, but by and large hasn't looked natural fit for it. McNeil, I think he's much better on the left. Danjuma played there against Arsenal, didn't he? And while they're all, certainly while McNeil and Danjuma are very much wide players, they feel like a left midfielder and a left forward. Harrison feels a lot more natural being on that right-hand side, cutting in on his left foot. And you saw a few little moments, didn't you, on Wednesday night of how effective he can be in that situation?
Yeah, well, that's why we bought him, didn't we? I like that ball. Was he the one who played the ball for Calvert-Lewin? And Calvert-Lewin,
yeah.
Was that when the Calvert-Lewin hit the side net? Was it that one?
Yeah.
Initial shot was saved, wasn't it? And then the rebound.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's incisive passing. In the final third, which he's just not had. For a long time, and I really liked him, and I think he'd say he's ideal. And just throw this question out here. I was thinking about this as part of our improvements of us on Wednesday, and what reason we played well is we played like 3 at the back and 3-4-3 or whatever you call it, 5-2-3. Would that be something you'd be looking forward to playing in the future? Because I felt that we pressed far more coherently because we had like a sort of, as I say, compact front three, which when we played sort of 4-5-1, we've not really been able to do. And I just felt, and we've also got the best out of passes and say, look, the thing very more comfortable. And very more comfortable, is that a phrase? More comfortable as wide right, as a wing back. And I was watching, thinking, it sort of gets the best out of it, and Garner, as you say, in the midfield. And I was thinking, is this something that we can work with for the future? Do we necessarily have to change this? And you could have like a McNeil, Harrison, Calvert-Lewin 3, and Arnold and Garner, and then a back 3 and Patterson and maybe Mykolenko even. I really liked the setup, and I felt it really suited the way the sense of the players on Wednesday. And I thought we can work with this in future. What do you think?
I sort of mentioned this on Wednesday. I wonder if he did that system with those players with January in mind, maybe when there's no Idrissa Gueye at the African Cup of Nations. We're not really sure about the Core situation and whether he's going to go, but he could also go, couldn't he, as well? And maybe he's looking ahead and thinking, if they're not going to be in the side, how do we compensate for that? We've only got, I know he's talked a lot about Andre Gomez being somebody he wants to use and quite likes, but he's still nowhere near fit, is he? So I just wondered if he had that in his mind on Wednesday and think I might have a little bit of a look at that. But in the same breath, I agree. I think it worked well. I think away from home, it could be something we looked at. But certainly in games like Saturday, you'd want to get more attacking players on the pitch, you think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that completely. There may be some games that you'll play it, and other games when you won't. But it was encouraging to see that we have got other options available than Dyche's go to 4-5-1, really, or even 4-4-2. That he's employed, and I thought it worked really well on Wednesday in terms of we just look so much more dynamic playing it.
Yeah, and those dilemmas, I suppose, do bring us on a little bit to Saturday, where Luton Town are the visitors to Goodison Park, and Everton, of course, still awaiting the first win, first point, first goal at Goodison this season, which is it's obviously not ideal, but still takes us some confidence into the game as well. Chris, I'll come to you first because there are some selection dilemmas there.
Yeah.
It looks like Mykolenko might not be available. We'll have to wait and see on that. So you'd say the back four largely picks itself. But certainly in midfield and at the top end of the pitch, the manager's going to have some big decisions to make. And let's start with the midfield then. Do you think Jack Harrison will play twice in a week and keep his place on that right-hand side? Or is it going to be another one like Brentford, you think, where James Garner might have to fill in and do a job out there?
I think Jack might be the one who misses out. I was just thinking about this. I can't see them playing a back five at home to Luton Town as effective as it was at Villa. I'm not too sure how that one would go down, but Dyche could be sticks to his guns on this one after a positive result. I'm just trying to think who will go where. I think I'd probably like to see Danjuma and McNeil as the two wide men, to be fair. I think that, go as attacking as possible. Obviously, McNeil, you're going to get a shift in from him as well, and he does track back a lot more, but obviously he's top scorer last season. 7 goals, albeit a low total, but it was a very good return for him, and plenty of assists as well. And got the assist at Brentford on the weekend with the corner kick. So yeah, I think I'd try and have see those two on the wing. So does that mean that surely, like Gav said, James Garner's got to continue in the centre of midfield? So that's where the real issue is. I mean, I suppose it could be the Decore and Idrissa Gueye suddenly fighting for a shirt there, because he's not going to be able to fit everyone in that respect. And given that it is a sort of game where Everton expects us to be on the front foot, I wonder if it would be Decore maybe gets a nod, and Idrissa Gueye, who's sort of been a mainstay ever since he came back to the club, he might be the man who misses out.
Yeah, Gav, same question to you. Really nodding along there. Would you go along with that? Because I think Garner Gueye is a funny one, isn't he? Because sometimes, even his performance last Saturday polarised opinion, because he gave the ball away in daft positions twice, but a couple of really good passes. And then if you look at his underlying numbers, he wins the ball back loads. His pass completion's good. So he's a divisive sort of player. But would you go along with that? What B said there for this game, where Everton should be on the front foot?
I think you've got to pick Decore, hasn't he? He's got 7 goals in 16 Premier League games, hasn't he? I was having a look last night. His first 74 Premier League games for Everton, 4 goals. Last 16, 7. I know he's played a slightly different role, but he's a real threat, isn't he? And I think you'd have to play Decore, and I'd put Garner Gueye on the bench tomorrow for this game. Out wide, I think you've got to play McNeil, haven't you? We just looked, a bit like, I didn't do the Brentford podcast, but we look so much better balanced, don't we, when McNeil's on the pitch? He had so much more balance to the team. And the encouraging, look far fitter against Brentford than what he did against Arsenal, which, to be fair, wasn't hard. I think you'd have to get McNeil on the pitch as well. And then it's really the Harrison or Danjuma. I suspect if Harrison had a game on Wednesday, he might play Danjuma, which twice in a week when he's just come back may not be the best. So yeah, I think Danjuma with McNeil and Calvert-Lewin, and then Decore behind, and then Garner and Onana, and then the back 4 with Young. I would imagine Young will play left back, would he then?
You'd imagine so, yeah. The only other...
So, can I just say something? He's played Pickford in both League Cup games, and normally in the past the reserve keeper has played. Does that show that Dyche is taking this competition enormously seriously, or does it show he doesn't trust his number 2?
Or both?
Or both, yeah.
It's a shame Joe Thomas isn't on, because we all know he's best mates with Virginia, isn't he? I'm sure he would have given.
Yeah. That's why I asked the question. You see, I knew Joe wasn't on. You see, so I thought. I just think it was interesting, particularly at Doncaster.
I think it probably says more about. So I think at Doncaster in particular, that's one way you would play your backup keeper, isn't it? But yeah, maybe he's not too fond or too keen on Joe Virginia, but just something you said there, Gab. Interestingly, I wanted to finish off on this, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin starts up front. You said definitely for you. Two starts in 4 days. Is that not potentially a bit much for him after much time out?
Good point. But he's not played. Yeah, he played. What did he play on Wednesday? 70, was it Wednesday?
Yeah,
70. Yeah. Better look like a fish out of water, didn't he, on Wednesday when he came on? I thought, but he's not played 90, has he, though, this week? What's he played, 90 minutes across 2 games, has he, Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, probably something like that.
I think, you've got to test it sometimes. You can't, put it this way, I haven't scored twice in 90 minutes play. I'd want to be playing on Saturday. I'd be very disappointed if the manager dropped me. I'd be saying, listen, if you want to get me match fit, you've got to play me a bit more regularly then. And I'd play Calvert-Lewin with Beto coming off the bench at some point, possibly. When we're 3 or 4-0 ahead.
Save your predictions for the end, Gav. Carried away. How about you? Would you go the same way with the striker situation? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when Calvert-Lewin's got 2 and 2, I think he's got 2, hasn't he now? It's just like I said, it's just great that he can interchange him. And the people have talked about. Somebody asked me earlier, is this going to be the time when you play them both together? I don't think so just yet. I don't think that's a road he'll be going down. But it's great, and after having Mopé, who was like the least like-for-like replacement or alternative to Calvert-Lewin last season, so now having Beto there, the way that you can interchange between the two, it's a great option or stroke dilemma for the manager to have. But I think after 2 and 2, it's got to be DCL.
Right, let's do predictions then. Gav, even though Everton haven't scored more than 1 goal in any game under Sean Dyche, you said when we're 3 or 4-0 up.
Yeah.
Are you going to go for a 5 or a 6 then in that case?
No. Merely tongue in cheek. There's that stat, isn't it? Was it only one of our last 18 goals have been scored at Goodison?
Yeah, not great.
And that was obviously the Decore one, obviously.
The important one, yeah. I think, but everybody last season 5 at Brighton, 2 at Leicester, 2 at somewhere else, was it?
3 at the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 at the weekend. Had 2 at Doncaster, 2 at Sheffield United,
2 at Chelsea.
Yeah. There's one in it. I think it's 1 in 18. Yeah. I'm going to go 3-0 Everton tomorrow. Is Connor not on, by the way, because he's spending his millions of quid? He won on his 3-1 bet last week, by the way.
You should have seen how.
Yeah, I asked him what the lottery numbers were after that. Yeah.
He was very smug in the office. I'll tell you, he was very smug about that. Yeah.
I texted him while I was on holiday about the lottery numbers. I think a good game to keep the momentum. We know Luton have struggled, but we've got to, carry on the good work and application that we've shown in the last couple of games. Also, it'll be a completely different atmosphere tomorrow than what has been previously at home for a long time. And I think that will also lift the players. You'll notice the game tomorrow straight away when you get to the ground tomorrow, I think. I think you'll notice a completely different atmosphere, and that's what I'm really looking forward to for the change. So 3-0 to Everton, no problem.
Chris, how about you?
No problem, says Gav. What a week it's been. As Gav said, we're fortunate now that we're not talking about this. If Everton was still having to go into this fixture looking for the first Premier League win of the season, it would have been awful, really. To cut the tension with a knife. But thankfully, it's not. It's 2 morale boosting victories, 2 really impressive displays on the road. Not quite as emphatic as Gav, but same sort of idea. I'm going to say 2-0 Everton.
Okay. I think Luton will really fancy this, but I still think we'll win. But I don't think it's going to be a swashbuckling 6-0, like Gav said. I reckon. I think a 1-0. I think a scrappy 1-0, and I'll be made up with that. Yeah, I'll be out all night if we beat Luton 1-0. I'll tell you now. So there we go. Let us know your thoughts on what you think the game is going to go like at the weekend. Who plays right mid, who plays centre mid, who plays up front, all that kind of thing in the comments on YouTube. We'll be back on Monday to reflect on what will hopefully be 3 wins in a week. Wow, how things change, eh? That'll be absolutely magical. And do make sure you stick across the Echo website for all coverage during and after the game at the weekend. That has been your Royal Blue podcast. We'll catch you again very soon.